Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys football. And again, we are less than a week away from college football kicking off in Ireland. And we're taking a look at an early week one game as Oklahoma State plays host to Central Michigan. This isn't a betting preview video. The spread is 21 points. Oklahoma State is a very, very heavy favorite. Rightfully so. This is a very good team that we saw last year absolutely dominate the tail end of the season. Obviously, the heartbreaking loss to Baylor in the Big 12 championship game. But then the comeback win against Notre Dame was absolutely massive. And I'm not a guy to put a ton of stock into bowl game wins. But it's hard to argue that that win against Notre Dame in the bowl game does not have a serious tailwind for Oklahoma State heading into 2022. What we're talking about a little bit more is what I want to see from the Oklahoma State Cowboys as they come into 2022. They have a lot of question marks on both sides of the ball. We're going to talk a little bit about what we want to see from the Oklahoma State Cowboys week one against Central Michigan. Before we get into it, guys, just wanted to say thank you for all the support you guys have shown the channel. Again, love talking ball with you guys in the comment section. Oklahoma State fans, you guys liked our season preview that we did in the summer for the Cowboys. We appreciate all the support. So if you do like the content, you like talking college football, consider subscribing to the channel. We really appreciate it. Let's start talking a little bit. What I want to do, though, is kind of look at this depth chart and start answering some questions for an Oklahoma State team that I'm really excited to see what they look like in 2022. It's going to start on the offense side of the ball, and it's going to start with Spencer Saunders. I think a lot of Oklahoma State Cowboy fans agree that this team, especially on the offensive side of the ball, goes as far as Spencer Saunders can take them. This is a guy that 2 years ago was a favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. That's how talented Spencer Saunders is, and that's how he's flashed at the college football level. He's a guy that he's very dangerous with the ball in his hands, but he's also a very good pocket passer. He just lacks some consistency. But again, you see those flashes of really, really, really special arm talent, and he's a guy that, can he put it together in his last year of college football? This Oklahoma State Cowboy offense can be really special. Now, we know what Spencer Saunders is. Now, can he reach that potential? That's a question mark. What I want to talk a little bit more about is more the wide receiver chemistry. Tay Martin was so important to that team last year. Over 1,000 yards receiving. The next closest was only at 600. How does Oklahoma State cover up for that loss of Tay Martin, a guy that when Spencer Saunders needed a third down conversion, they were going to Tay Martin? I posed this question during the preview video we did, and a lot of Oklahoma State fans, a little upset at me, quite frankly, kind of screaming at the clouds that Brennan Presley is a guy to look for. He's a guy that you just want to get him the ball in his hands. He's a little undersized, but can obviously really, really make some noise. Look for Brennan Presley to develop some of that chemistry that Spencer Saunders had with Tay Martin. Another guy, Jaden Bray, kind of that X-wide receiver who he looks the part. If he can put it together, kind of reminds me of Justin Shorter at Florida. This guy looks like a freak. Now you just want to see him consistently do it on Saturdays. I'm very excited to see if he can emerge as kind of one of those guys that Oklahoma State likes to go to. And then, of course, Oklahoma State is very good at running the football. They like to do that. Who's going to replace Jaylen Warren, who is a guy that is a very talented running back? Oklahoma State loses him. Who's stepping up in that RB1? I mean, Jaylen Warren, 1,200 yards on the ground last year. He was very good. I think most people say Dominic Richardson is going to step up, and he probably does lead the team in carries. A guy to keep an eye on, and this is kind of just reading from practice notes, Ollie Gordon, a guy who's a true freshman, early enrollee, 6'1", 210 pounds. You don't normally see high school recruits come into the program that already physically developed. He had the whole spring to practice with the team. Obviously, summer conditioning, fall camp. He's a guy that apparently in practice is really setting the bar high. Wouldn't be surprised if you see him kind of take a lot of running back snaps, a lot of carries, and a guy to maybe watch for in the terms of giving some juice. Maybe Dominic Richardson is the guy, but if you're looking for a spell, Ollie Gordon's a guy that you have to take a look at. The defensive side of the football, it all kind of goes around Jim Knowles. This Oklahoma State defensive front is phenomenal. You can tell they were really well coached. A lot of the question is, what does this defense look like without Jim Knowles, who is one of the best defensive coordinators in the country? I don't get the national media pretty much tearing Oklahoma State's defense down as if they weren't one of the best teams. I mean, you look at the stats last year: 9th in scoring defense, 5th in total yards per game given up. Elite level defense, especially in the Big 12, that is known for its offense. Jim Knowles had these guys playing with their heads on fire, creating an extreme amount of havoc. I believe they led the country in sacks, or were damn near close to that. How is this defense going to look without Jim Knowles? Guess what? They have another defensive coordinator who's one of the best in the business in Derek Mason. This isn't some high school guy that they just hired out of high school. I mean, Derek Mason is a legit defensive coordinator who's done a very, very good job at all his stops. This defense isn't going to look that much worse. And you have the guys up front, and we talked about this. You don't have many question marks up front. The guys up front, you look at Brock Martin, Colin Oliver, Tyler Lacey, Brandon Evers. Very, very talented front four. They're going to get pressure. The question marks you have are kind of more towards that back end. You lose some guys in the secondary, but I'm more concerned about that linebacker spot. A guy like Malcolm Rodriguez, 130 tackles. Devin Harper, a ton of tackles last year. And those two linebackers were some of the best linebacker play in the country, in a duo that was extraordinarily productive for the Cowboys last year. Which of these linebackers, and I'm going to start with Xavier Benson, the transfer, are we going to see them step up and play some really meaningful football in replacement of a guy like Malcolm Rodriguez, who was he was a darling of mine in the 2022 NFL draft. He's a guy that when you turn on the film for Malcolm Rodriguez, all over the football, pretty much wherever the tackle's being made, you can see him in the picture. That's how good this guy is. The instincts are there. The motor was there. I loved his game. I'm worried about who steps up at that linebacker spot. In the NFL, linebacker play maybe not as important because there's a lot of good linebackers. At the college level, it is very important to have that Mike linebacker who can really go sideline to sideline. You can trust to kind of fill the hole and make stops. Think about Devin Bush last year, or a couple of years ago for Michigan. When Devin Bush left, that Michigan defense looked a hell of a lot different. And it wasn't because the players around him. It was because Devin Bush, kind of their heart and soul, that defense was gone. They had trouble kind of replacing him. Malcolm Rodriguez reminded me a lot of Devin Bush. How well can Oklahoma State replace him is a question that I want to see answered. And then the secondary, I want to just throw out a name. You obviously lose some guys to the portal. You lose some guys to the draft that you feel good about. Trey Rucker, the transfer from Wake Forest. I'm a Wake Forest guy. I remember watching Trey Rucker when he was healthy. Really, really special player. Very physical. He's good in coverage. He's very good coming up in the box and tackling. I want to see him play some more football for the Cowboys. Thought it was weird that he transferred from Wake Forest. He hasn't really played much for the Oklahoma State Cowboys, but he's a guy that is dripping with talent and physicality. Wouldn't mind seeing him on the field for Oklahoma State. That's kind of some of the stuff that I want to see against Central Michigan. Again, I'm not watching this game because I feel like I want to lay 21 points with Oklahoma State. I'm watching this game more because I want to get a sense of what Oklahoma State is going to look like in 2022 when you look down the road. They're going Arizona State, Arkansas, Pine Bluff. They have some games where they can get some confidence, and then you get into the Big 12 schedule going on the road to Baylor in week 4. And that's where you want to see Oklahoma State and get a sense of what Oklahoma State can bring to the table. This team can be really good. I feel like a lot of people are writing Oklahoma State off as kind of a one-year wonder last year. They still have Spencer Saunders. They're going to have a good running back room. They have some guys in the wide receiver room that are talented, not necessarily proven. I'm excited to see those guys step up. And then on defense, if you have a good defensive line at the college football level, you're going to have a good defense. If you can create pressure on the quarterback, what we're going to see is, was this defense successful because Jim Knowles in the schematics that he was scheming up, or was it because of the dogs up front? I tend to lean towards the players. Like, if you have better athletes on defense, you're going to have a good defense. I like what they have up front. I'm excited to see what Oklahoma State brings to the table. We're going to leave it on that. Again, guys, appreciate all the support you guys have shown the channel. It means a lot. We love doing these videos. We love talking ball with you guys in the comment section. Cowboy fans, let us know in the comment section which players we should be looking for on Thursday night. Again, almost less than a week away from kickoff. Appreciate you guys checking us out, and we're going to talk to you all later.